Los Angeles, January 1947, a city of dreams. But beneath its glamour, something truly evil was about to surface. On the morning of January 15th, a mother walking with her child noticed something strange lying in a vacant lot. At first, she thought it was a broken mannequin, but as she stepped closer, her blood ran cold. She screamed. What lay in that field was not a mannequin, it was a young woman, completely severed in two. Within minutes, police flooded the scene. Officers who had seen everything went pale. Nothing had prepared them for this. The body had been completely drained of blood, meaning she was killed somewhere else, then carefully placed here. This was planned. Detectives ran her fingerprints through the FBI database. Within hours, they had a name, Elizabeth Short, 22 years old. Elizabeth Short. She had come to Los Angeles chasing a dream, like thousands of others. She never made it home. Born in Hyde Park, Massachusetts in 1924, Elizabeth grew up poor. Her father disappeared when she was 6, leaving her mother to raise 5 daughters alone. Elizabeth struggled with severe asthma as a child, spending long winters in hospital beds dreaming of sunshine in California. At 19, she boarded a bus to California alone. No connections, no plan, just hope, and a face that stopped strangers in the street. Hollywood in the 40s was intoxicating. Starlets, soldiers, jazz clubs. Elizabeth floated through it all, always searching for something she couldn't find. Witnesses later described her as magnetic, always dressed in black. It was this habit that gave her the nickname that would follow her into death. The press would call her the Black Dahlia, a name inspired by a film noir movie playing at the time. It stuck forever. The story exploded across every newspaper in America. Nothing like this had ever been reported so publicly. The nation was horrified and obsessed. Police received over 150 false confessions. Everyone wanted to be the killer, but the real one never stepped forward. Then, 6 days after the murder, the real killer made contact. A package arrived at the Los Angeles Examiner newspaper. Inside were Elizabeth's birth certificate, her photos, and an address book, all wiped clean with gasoline to destroy fingerprints. The killer had thought of everything. No prints, no DNA, just a chilling message cut from newspaper letters. Here is Dahlia's belongings. Detectives retraced Elizabeth's final days. The last confirmed sighting, January 9th, 1947, 6 days before her body was found. She had been staying at the Biltmore Hotel. Staff remembered her waiting in the lobby, then walking out the front door into the night, alone. No one saw who she left with. No one heard her scream. Somewhere between that hotel door and that vacant lot, a monster found her. Years later, a security guard at the Biltmore reported strange occurrences. Lights flickering on the floor Elizabeth last stayed, doors opening on their own. Ghost hunters who investigated the hotel captured what sounded like a young woman whispering in a room that had been empty and locked for years. The Black Dahlia case was never solved. The killer died free, and Elizabeth Short is still waiting for justice somewhere beyond the yellow tape. As weeks passed, the pressure on LAPD grew unbearable. The public demanded answers. Detectives had suspects, but never enough proof. Over the course of the investigation, more than 25 serious suspects were identified. Each one had something dark to hide, but none could be conclusively tied to Elizabeth. One of the first suspects was a former Army doctor named Walter Bailey. He lived just 1 block from where Elizabeth's body was found. The precision of Elizabeth's wounds shocked forensic experts. Whoever did this had surgical knowledge. The body had been completely drained and cut with expert precision. Walter Bailey died just 1 year after the murder of a brain disease that caused personality changes and violent behavior. His own family suspected him. Another suspect, Mark Hansen, a nightclub owner who knew Elizabeth personally. She had lived in his home, and he had a history of obsessive behavior toward young women. Hansen's address book was found in the killer's package sent to the newspaper. His name was inside it. Police questioned him, but he was never charged. Decades later, a retired LAPD detective named Steve Hodel made a shocking claim. His own father, Dr. George Hodel, was the Black Dahlia killer. Dr. George Hodel was brilliant, wealthy, and deeply dangerous. He had been investigated for other crimes, including the sexual abuse of his own daughter. In 1950, the LAPD secretly bugged George Hodel's home. On those recordings, he was heard saying the words, "Supposin I did kill the Black Dahlia." That recording still exists. Those words, captured on tape, sent chills through every investigator who ever heard them, yet still no arrest was made. George Hodel fled to Asia shortly after. He lived abroad for decades, free, respected, and wealthy. He died in 1999, never charged with anything. In 2018, a paranormal team investigated the old Hodel estate. Within the first hour, their equipment recorded a sudden drop in temperature in one specific room. The EMF reader spiked violently in the basement. When investigators asked out loud, "Is anyone here?" a chair scraped across the floor. No one was near it. They captured audio, a faint female voice whispering a single word. When the recording was enhanced in the lab, it sounded like the name Elizabeth. The Black Dahlia case officially remains open to this day. The LAPD Cold Case Unit still holds the file. Over 75 years and not a single conviction. Locals who live near the original crime scene in Leimert Park report strange feelings passing that lot. Some refuse to walk past it after dark, even today. Every year on January 15th, anonymous flowers appear at the site where Elizabeth was found. No cameras have ever caught who leaves them. In 2019, a property owner set up cameras to catch whoever was leaving the flowers. The footage showed the flowers simply appearing between one frame and the next. In 2019, a property owner set up cameras to catch whoever was leaving the flowers. The footage showed the flowers simply appearing between one frame and the next. Frame 11:58 p.m., empty ground. Frame 12:01 a.m., white flowers, no gap, no person, no shadow. Just flowers that weren't there, and then were. Some believe Elizabeth never truly left that lot, that a piece of her, the part that never got justice, is still there, still waiting, still watching. Elizabeth Short is buried at Mountain View Cemetery in Oakland, California. Her grave is one of the most visited in the state by strangers who never knew her. People leave lipstick marks on her gravestone, letters, flowers, as if by remembering her, they can give her something the justice system never did, a voice. The Black Dahlia, a name born from darkness, but kept alive by millions who refuse to let her be forgotten. The case is cold, but the truth is still out there. As the investigation dragged on, detectives began noticing something chilling. Elizabeth was not the only victim. A pattern was emerging across the city. Between 1943 and 1949, at least 11 women were murdered in Los Angeles under eerily similar circumstances. All young, all drained of blood, all carefully posed. Investigators quietly began calling this unknown killer the lone woman murder suspect, but the connection was never officially confirmed, and the public was never told. Decades later, journalists filing Freedom of Information requests discovered LAPD had deliberately suppressed connections between the cases, fearing citywide panic. Critical evidence from the Black Dahlia case went missing from the LAPD evidence room. A key piece of Elizabeth's clothing simply vanished from the chain of custody. Was it accident, corruption, or did someone with power reach inside the LAPD and make sure this case could never be solved? That question haunts investigators to this day. Some investigators believe the killer had connections to powerful men in Los Angeles, politicians, police, and Hollywood figures who protected him from justice. The Los Angeles of the 1940s ran on corruption. Police took bribes. Crime bosses controlled City Hall. If the killer had the right friends, he was untouchable. What kind of person could do this, then walk back into society, attend dinner parties, shake hands, smile, and never betray a single sign of guilt? In 2021, cold case forensic scientists attempted to extract DNA from the original evidence. The results were inconclusive, but the attempt proved the case is far from forgotten.
Modern technology has solved cases that sat cold for 50 years. Investigators believe that one day, the right piece of biological evidence will finally name the killer. In 2022, a solo paranormal researcher spent 3 nights in the building where Dr. George Hodel once lived. On the second night, something spoke back. The EVP recording captured a male voice, deep and calm, saying 3 words clearly: "She deserved it." The researcher packed up and left within minutes. Multiple visitors to the Hodel property over the years reported the same experience: an overwhelming feeling of being watched from below, from underground, from the basement, A thermal camera sweep of the basement captured a human-shaped heat signature standing in the corner. The building had been vacant for 2 years. No one was inside. Friends who knew Elizabeth described her as warm, funny, and full of life. She wanted to be an actress. She wanted a family. She wanted to grow old. She got none of it. The last letter Elizabeth ever wrote to her mother was found after her death. She wrote that she had found a man who would take care of her, and that she'd be home soon. Elizabeth's mother, Phoebe, spent the rest of her life waiting for answers that never came. She died without ever knowing who took her daughter or why. 3 different nurses at Los Angeles hospitals over the decades reported seeing a young, dark-haired woman in 1940s, clothing wandering corridors late at night, and then disappearing. One nurse followed the figure around a corner and found nothing but a dead-end wall. When she returned to the nurse's station, every clock in the ward had stopped at the same time. The time on every stopped clock, 10:15 p.m. The estimated time Elizabeth Short took her last breath, according to the original coroner's report. She came to the city with nothing but hope. She deserved a life, a future, a name remembered in joy, not in tragedy. But Los Angeles took everything from her. The file closes. The shelf fills with dust. But somewhere in this city, the truth about what happened to Elizabeth Short still exists. Buried, waiting, unspoken. They gave her a nickname. They printed her face on every paper. They made her famous in death. But no one, not one person, has ever been made to answer for what they did to her. Elizabeth Short, January 15th, 1947. Still unsolved, still unforgiven. The yellow tape came down, but justice never came. This is Beyond the Yellow Tape, and we are just getting started. Subscribe to Beyond the Yellow Tape. Every week, a new case, real crimes, real victims, real mysteries that were never meant to be forgotten. The truth is always out there.